Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul upcoming boxing match. Now, whether you hate that it's happening, whether you love that it's happening, and you're excited for it, it's happening November 14th, Miami, Florida. It will be an exhibition, 10 round, 12-ounce gloves, I believe, but technically it should be fought as a pro fight. They're going to have no headgear. They're supposed to try. There's going to be 3 judges, 2 real judges, 1 AI judge. So who knows how this is really going to play out? Will this look kind of like a Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul situation where, I mean, there's putting some power behind the punches, but, they're obviously not going all out? Or will this be, kind of an all action, like Jake's going to try to KO him? He doesn't want to go out sad against a 135er, and Tank doesn't want to take a first official L against a influencer boxer. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. But I think personally that Gervonta Davis will destroy Jake Paul. And before you go, oh, well, Jake Paul is so big, he's 200 pounds, and he hits so hard, and Tank is so small, he's not going to be able to take the punches. Jake's just going to go up on it, run up on him, and punch through his guard and KO him. Bro, that's not how it works, okay? This isn't a street fight. This isn't bare knuckle where, Jake could get through the guard and maybe clip him. Like, bro, this is a boxing match. Boxing rules. Tank knows what he's doing, okay? So I'm going to be explaining to you why I think Gervonta is going to destroy Jake Paul and go through this step by step. So first, experience in boxing. Gervonta Davis has been boxing since he was 6 years old, okay? He's not one of these guys that started late. He's not someone who picked up the sport for fun, who thought it was, something he had to do to get some clout and some money. He did this because of his situation. Obviously, growing up in a dangerous area in kind of inner city Baltimore, he didn't do boxing for fun. He did it because he had to. And those type of boxers who do boxing to get out of a situation, provide for their families, they're a little bit different than a guy like Jake Paul who, let's be honest, he got into boxing for clout, for money. He knew the YouTube vlogging era, wasn't sustainable forever. Like, yeah, he was still doing good on social media, but he kind of had to pivot as he was getting a little bit older and his fans started to mature a little bit more. And he thought, hey, boxing would be a sport that I could get into. The influencer boxing scene is starting to take off. Let me get into it. Now, I'll give credit to Jake Paul that out of all the influencer boxers, he's by far the best. Like, he would destroy KSI, probably 3rd round KO. KSI is terrible. He would also KO Logan Paul. So, Jake Paul has separated himself from the influencer boxers. He has started a real boxing promotion, not, misfits tag team matches. He has actual champions, actual prospects on his roster. And he actually has shown commitment to the sport. He doesn't just show up, out of shape for a paycheck. No, he actually tries to win. He tries to develop his skills. It's just that his experience will never catch up to someone like Gervonta, who's been doing this since he was 6 years old. So our second point, experience with bigger guys. This has been said before by other boxers, but it's common in boxing gyms for smaller guys to beat up on bigger guys. Chris Algieri, former WBO champion, he has a podcast on Boxing Scene, I believe. Either that or Inside Boxing Live. But he was talking about how even he himself, and he's not really a power puncher, he's a good boxer, but he would beat up on bigger guys. And I'm not talking 1 weight class or 2 weight classes, cruiserweight heavyweights. It is common in boxing gyms for a very skilled, smaller guy to beat up on a lesser experienced, but much physically stronger heavyweight. Gervonta Davis is, and the skill level between them, between your typical, kind of newer heavyweight and, more experienced lightweight, that's probably a closer skill gap than what's going to happen between Gervonta and Jake Paul. Jake Paul has no amateur background. He has 1 exhibition fight. He only fights twice a year. He's not on an active schedule. It's just too big of an experience gap, despite the weight difference. Now, the speed. The speed of Gervonta Davis will be too much for Jake Paul. We can see that Jake Paul struggles keeping up when a guy like Chavez Jr. decided to put up the pressure in the 8th, 9th round started throwing combos, and was landing on him. Think about what a guy like Gervonta Davis, who, yeah, he is smaller than Chavez. Does he hit harder than him with such a big weight gap? I don't know. Probably not. But the speed and the precision of Gervonta, despite being a low output fighter, I think is going to prove too much for Jake to handle. He just does not have the defense. Yeah, he can shell up and be on a high guard, but Tank's going to attack the body. He's going to go at new angles that Jake's not used to. And Jake just does not have the IQ, I think, to deal with a motivated Gervonta Davis. And that will go up to my next point, is that Tank's not trying to go out sad, okay? Yeah, Tank had the draw to Lamont Roach, but Lamont Roach was the WBA champion at 130. Right, Lamont Roach is a respectable, very respected in the boxing industry. Losing to Jake Paul, despite the weight difference, bro, Tank's aura will be gone. He will have no more aura. He will have no more marketability. No one will really talk about him in any respect in the boxing industry if he loses to Jake Paul. Imagine if he gets knocked out or stopped against a guy who started boxing in 2020 or 2019. There's no recovery from that. Tank does not want to go out sad. Yes, he's talking about retirement, and I do believe that he wants out of the sport, but he's not going to go and sell out and get knocked out or get outboxed by Jake Paul. It's just not going to happen. And our last 2 points, Jake has cardio issues, right? We saw it in the Chavez Jr. fight. He gassed. We saw it in the Nate Diaz fight. He gassed. And he was up on the scorecards, and I'll give him credit. He does have a chin. He does have punch resistance, so he was able to make it to the bell. But against a guy like Tank, who's not going to gas out, who's going to be keeping the pressure in those later rounds, it could be bad, man, when you gas out and you're going at a guy who hits as hard as Tank and has such an experience difference that Jake's, counters and whatever resistance he's going to put up, I don't think it's going to be very effective in those later rounds. And lastly, Jake Paul just does not have good defense. I mean, he will be able to mitigate a lot of Tank's attack with the size difference. Not really the height difference, right? Tank has fought taller guys. Ryan Garcia was around, 5'10", 5'11". Mario Barrios is almost 6 foot, about similar height to Jake Paul. The height is not really the factor. Tank will duck under Jake's hooks. He will be able to get on the inside, get in and out of range. I don't think it's the height, but the weight will allow Jake to clinch. It'll allow him to lean on Tank. He'll be able to take more punches than usual. But I just don't think the defense is going to hold up. He doesn't have the head movement. The way he moves is still it's almost like he's hitting a heavy bag. He just doesn't have the fluidity necessary to compete with these elite guys, I think. You can tell when someone starts late in boxing. They're always just a little stiffer than normal. They're a little bit more robotic than normal. They just don't have that natural movement ingrained into them. And no matter how much training you do, no matter how much sparring he does, he's never going to have that natural movement that someone like Tank has. But yeah, those will be my main reasons why I think Gervonta Davis is going to destroy Jake Paul. I just think the experience combined with Jake's cardio and defense issues, plus the fact that, Tank has fought bigger guys before in sparring. He's not, going to be like, oh, wow, this guy's 6 inches taller than me. What do I do? So yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Tell me whether you agree or disagree, and also suggest new topics for future videos. Thanks.